let me talk a bit in defense of The Acolyte. Star Wars has been a bit of a free fall lately. Long gone is the idea of having a Star Wars film come out every year, alternating between the main ongoing storyline and more standalone one-offs like the highly successful Rogue One. Solo was a huge misfire, and the prequels earned less with each outing. On streaming, things are largely the same, with The Mandalorian becoming less interesting every season, and the Boba Fett series being terrible. I will say that the Obi-Wan series was much stronger once the overly drawn-out child Leia part was finished. It ended really strongly, showing us the terrifying power of Vader, and the final showdown between Anakin and Obi-Wan before they meet again in the Death Star. For me, aside from the first season of The Mandalorian, only Andor rose to the level of brilliant storytelling. Part of me wonders if it is my age. I know I'm out of the demo, as they say, and a lot of Disney Plus Star Wars programs seem geared to viewers much younger than me. That being said, it is streaming, so it is either adults who have the money and interest to pay for it, or families. I get that they would produce more family-friendly fare, and I admit that I've grown very attached to the current series, Skeleton Crew, with its Goonies, Treasure Island, even Peter Pan kind of vibe. The robot's name is SM-33, Smee. But Andor, that was for grown-ups. My jam. As The Acolyte was airing, a lot of the criticism I read online seemed to be the typical Disney woke, women bad noise that I ignore. Perhaps some true blue Lucas-holics complaining about canon and stuff like that, too. Was the acting bad? No. Were the visuals bad? No. Was the action up to par? Yes. That leaves the story. When you have something that has gone on for as long as Star Wars, across all kinds of different media, you are left with some options. Move forwards, move backwards, stand still, start over. In the sequel trilogy, Episode 7 was obviously moving backwards, cashing in on nostalgia and recycling things we had seen before, only bigger. Episode 9 was also, in my opinion, moving backwards in a lot of ways. Episode 8, the one that gets wrongly blamed for killing Star Wars, was the only one that attempted to move forwards. That is why I like it the most of the 3 sequel trilogy films. Of course, I like about 40% of each sequel trilogy film and hate 60% of each. None of them are any good across the board, after all is said and done. The 40% I liked, though, everything involving Kylo/Ben and Rey, and by extension, Luke. George himself laid the groundwork. In the prequel trilogy, we got to finally see the Jedi at their peak. And they were flawed. They were oblivious. They were ineffectual. They stole toddlers from their families and preached detachment from emotion, including love. Love might lead to possessiveness and fear of loss because you have something you value more than yourself and would do anything to protect it. This in turn is what could lead to fear, and then anger, and then hate, and then suffering. That is what Yoda taught Luke, but he didn't mention love, the unspoken component. How can you tell someone not to love? Even Obi-Wan, as Anakin lay limbless at Kenobi's own hands, ready to burst into flame, declared his love for his Padawan. A Jedi Master feeling love. It is not lack of emotion, but accepting one's feelings and not being controlled by them that determines if a Force user succumbs to the dark side. And being a Jedi is no vaccine against temptations of the dark side, as Count Dooku proves. The whole Jedi system is bankrupt and simplistic. George established that. We see in episode 7 that the First Order also steals children from their families and indoctrinates them just like the Jedi. Two sides of the same coin? In Star Wars Rebels, we meet the Bendu, neither light nor dark, but existing between, laughing at their conflict. The Bendu is arguably more powerful than any Jedi or Sith. In episode 8, we find a broken Luke, a Force user who started his training too late by the Jedi's standards and didn't have much actual teaching going by the films and current canonical animated and live-action series. A teacher who had his nephew/student plucked out from under his nose by Snoke. Unaware or unable to stop it from happening, just as Yoda and the old masters couldn't stop Palpatine. Going back to the birthplace of the Jedi, finding the original teachings, seeing the mosaic of the Prime Jedi, balanced perfectly between light and dark, that was new. Yet also a plausible extension of the fall of the Jedi Order and a chance to find a better way for the Force users going forward. That is what I saw in The Acolyte. Force users who are neither Jedi nor Sith, who discovered abilities unknown to either faction, the ability to create life. Force users who wanted to be left alone with no grand aims, who had their lifestyle invaded by Jedi who threatened to steal away their precious children. And they resisted. One of the children, out of curiosity, chose to go with the Jedi and ultimately failed as a Padawan and was released to live on her own. Did she turn to the dark side? No. A young Jedi who gave in to fear and almost died. Did he turn to the dark side? No. He meditated for 10 years. A Jedi Master who loved his student as his own daughter. Is that allowed? I thought not, but there it was. Similarly to how Obi-Wan loved Anakin as a brother. The leader of the Jedi, a woman who probably whipped her Padawan at some stage, going by the scars on his body. How did that come to be? We will most likely never know. Is she evil? Is she a Sith? No, she, like the others, is flawed. The only thing I wish they hadn't done is put who appears to be Darth Plagueis in a throwaway scene peeking out of a cave. No one except Lucasholics would know who that was. And it served no point in the story. Just let the bad guy be the bad guy. No Sith hands in the mix. And let us see more Force users who are neither Jedi nor Sith, who have to deal with their emotions and find a balance within themselves. The Jedi failed as an organization. That is canon. Episode 8 opened the door to move forwards and explore that. And the Acolyte showed cracks in the Jedi system, cracks that were confirmed in the canonical future, Episode 3, when Palpatine was victorious. I want to see Star Wars move forwards, not stand still or slide backwards. Put Jedi and Sith away and give us something better, something more human, something without baggage. The Acolyte, in my eyes, was doing that. That's why I liked it. And that, ignoring Disney haters and wokeness complainers and Lucas worshippers who forget that George started the ball rolling down this hill, might be why some people didn't like The Acolyte. They didn't want something new. They didn't want to see what's next. They just wanted more of the same. Well, they can pull up episode 7 and watch Abrams cherry-pick Lucas to their heart's content. I would rather see a failed exploration of fresh ground than recycled crap. Anyway, do you agree? Do you disagree? There's room for all opinions. If you have something to share, please leave a comment. Thanks for watching. See you next time.